Hello, my name is Lisa Nutt. I'm a certified instructor with the Young Family in Louisville, Kentucky. Today we're going to talk about and work on alignment and how that relates to our breathing and how our breathing affects our alignment. When I teach, I usually teach from a standpoint of what I call mindfulness or inner intent. It has to do with why I came to Tai Chi. I have permanent brain damage that totally wiped out my primary sense of balance, and I had difficulty with movement. So I have done a lot of research on balance and movement and how Tai Chi will improve those. So when I teach, and you're going to hear this, I'm going to say your brain works this way, and we want to use our mind or our intent to make it move according to Tai Chi principles and concepts. So body alignment and our breathing, control of our breath, are very central tenets in Tai Chi. Unfortunately, the environment that we're all in today, the idea of being able to take a deep, comfortable breath is receiving very urgent attention. Now, I am not a medical professional, but from what I have been reading, a lot of times people wind up on the ventilators because they have fatigue. Their muscles give out. The muscles that control our breathing and just pure exhaustion, and they need the ventilator to force the air in and out. There is something we can do to prevent us from reaching that point, and that is by working on our breathing and building those muscles and learning how to take very deep breaths and working on our exhale. So this is a very timely lesson. Now, you don't really need to understand Tai Chi or even do a Tai Chi form. We will discuss that a little bit, but most of this is just some exercises that we do developing our Tai Chi skills. So our brain is constantly receiving input about our position in space. And then it sends out signals to the muscles to adjust our posture so that we don't fall over. And this works very well with Tai Chi because alignment is very conscious. It's about developing song and relaxation and unifying the energy of the body by keeping our body in alignment. So to get started, I want you to check your posture. Did you feel that you moved from your shoulders? This is how our brain works. In Tai Chi, we want to develop our alignment from our feet upward. We don't want to be pulling from the top down. That's how the brain would normally do it. So when we align, we want our feet about shoulder width apart. This is easy to tell if you're standing and your fingertips barely brush the sides of your legs, then you would be shoulder width apart. If you're having difficulty getting to shoulder width apart, you can put your heels together, toes out at 45 degrees, and then rotate on the balls of your feet until your heels are straight, and this should put you at about shoulder width apart. Now everybody, there's a little bit of a range. I like mine just slightly beyond shoulder width apart, but still not so far that my hands are going like this. So we want to be where it's comfortable for you, because your brain has already got a pattern of movement, and the idea here is that we want to stay relaxed and sinking. Okay, so we start as if we're stacking blocks. We want our feet solid on the ground, shoulder width apart, feeling all the edges of the feet firmly on the floor, kind of spreading the feet out slightly. Now, maybe if you're a beginner, you're not ready for this, but the weight will come slightly forward from where we normally carry it. A little bit more on what we call the bubbling well, it's in front of the arch of the foot, but if you're just starting, just stay over your arches. That's fine. Then we want to keep our knees in a line with our toes. So when we are standing, we don't want to bring them in or take them out. They need to be in a line with my toes, and we don't want it to go past the front of the toe. So slightly bent. We never want to lock our knees in Tai Chi. I think everybody kind of knows what that feels like. It's very hard on our balance, and it's going to disturb our ability to breathe in these exercises. So we want to have our feet down, knees in a line. Next is relax the waist. And we want to do that to bring our hips forward. I use sticks a lot in my teaching. If we are shoulder width apart, we want to push those hips forward a little bit. Imagine a line from hip to hip so that they come underneath my shoulders. So your shoulders would be in a line. If it ran through the center of my body, you bring your hips forward under your shoulders. When I ask you to check your posture, what your brain does is put your shoulders over your hips. And this tends to move our center back, and we get tense and tight. So in Tai Chi, we want to push down through the waist, bringing those hips forward underneath our shoulders. Okay. From here, the next block is expand the back and sink the chest. So at about the center of your shoulder blades, I want you to extend out and let that bring that chest slightly sinking and keeping those shoulders down. Next block that we put into place is our head. And our head, we want to have it as lightly extending upwards. Now this is actually done in the neck, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into neck later on in this lesson. But for now, I want you to think of a push upward from your neck, and it kind of goes in an arch, such as this. That will automatically bring your chin in a little bit, and it should feel as if there is a string holding your head up. So we're going to extend through the neck to bring our head up. Okay, so do we feel nice and centered? Alignment works very well when teaching balance, because if you look at the definition of balance, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a human being or a seesaw, the definition is the distribution of your mass over your base. So in a human being, our base is just the soles of our feet. So we want to make sure that we're very centered over the feet so that we're perfectly balanced. One thing I left out, when we bring the head up, we want to try and center it forward and back as much as possible. Sometimes we only think of it as side to side, but we don't want our head forward like this. We want it centered front to back between our shoulders. Okay, so we've got our alignment. And I want you to feel very relaxed and comfortable. We want to avoid all tension. Okay, now let's work on our breathing. It's important that we exercise our lungs regularly. It helps us to increase the capacity of our lungs, and it's going to strengthen those muscles that support our breathing. What is called in Western terms is your deep diaphragmatic breathing. It's called a prenatal breathing in Chinese terms. Exact same thing. It's breathing through your abdomen. Okay, so we want to align, feet on the floor, knees in a line. Bring your hips forward under your shoulders. Expand the back, slightly sinking the chest, and extend the head upward. So what you want to do is take a big inhale, and as you do so, you're going to push it down into your abdomen. So let's try that. And again. Okay. If you're aligned properly, you can get a deeper breath. As we push our breath down, we want to expand the abdomen, so we have to push the diaphragm down to let that air come down out of the lungs to increase that capacity of our lungs. It's good to start, for beginners especially, pushing the breath down the back, down the spine. I do this with my students, and I did it for myself for a long time, because the muscles in front, when we're used to doing chest breathing, and our chest kind of comes out and back as we inhale and exhale, those are already loose. What we need to do is loosen the back. This will help us to develop the horizontal bow that Master Yang Jun talks about when we're doing Tai Chi, an extension across the back, opening the back. Part of this, open the back and sink the chest. So if you do your breath this way, push it down the back, into the abdomen, and then let it out. Okay? So on our exhale, we want to do this as if we're squeezing a balloon. So we're going to inhale and expand, and then exhale, pushing inward. It's very important that you don't pull inward. It's a push to get that air out. We want to also remember that a balloon even has a bottom. So we want to push from the midpoint of our groin, adding that push to our side push to bring that air, bring it back out. So let's try that with that inhale down the back, bringing it into your abdomen, and then pushing inward to exhale out. Getting that breath deep, and then pushing all that oxygen and carbon dioxide out of your lungs. Okay? In Tai Chi, we practice what's called Treehugger. It's a very easy stance. I caught myself going into it already. What we want to do is standing, have our alignment. We bring our arms up, but we keep our elbows below our wrist, holding like this. Weight forward a little if you are there. And then we just focus on our breathing. And we want to do this as slowly as we can. So we want to inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Trying to get that breath as deep as we can, working those muscles that control our breath. And we need our alignment in order to control our breath or allow this to relax enough. And that's what we're going to go into next. Next, we want to try this seated. This is especially important if someone has balance loss. It's much easier to do it seated rather than standing on your feet. It also will relax those muscles even more so that we can take in a deeper breath when we're seated than when we're standing. It's less strain on the postural muscles because when we are seated, we have a greater base of support for our mass, and our mass is not as far off of our base. So this allows those postural muscles that can sometimes constrict our breathing to relax even more. So let's have a seat. Also, lying down is even better than being seated. If you think about it, when you're lying down, your base of support is much greater and your mass is distributed more equally. I would recommend you can look online and you can see a lot of exercises when you're lying down, doing this deep breathing and extending the lungs and building the muscles. I a lot of times even practice movements in Tai Chi lying down. It allows me to get the movement deeper into my torso and allows for a better focus. So when we are seated, we can't bring our hips under our shoulders. So here we're going to align our shoulders, this line here, over our hips. Again, we want to expand the back and sink the chest. We want to keep our shoulders down and extend our head up. So now I want you to take a big inhale and pushing down the back, expand through the spine, and then push it into your abdomen and expand out equally. So a big inhale. And then when we exhale, pushing equally on the sides and from the bottom up. This is the way a lot of vocalists will practice. This is not unique to Tai Chi. This is something that is used for people when they're singing. They want to get a bigger breath. I'm sure there are other practices that use this as well. You can find a lot of resources online about how posture affects breathing and breathing affects posture. Now, what we are talking about is alignment, which is slightly different than posture. And it's important because when we start moving, then if we move according to Tai Chi principles, we should be able to breathe deeply in every part of our movement, all through our form. So I want you to do it again, and I want you to do it with some awareness. So I want you to try and feel how wide or deep you can get that breath. So let's do it again. One more time. Okay. Did you feel was that better for you, I guess I would say, than when you were standing? So now we're going to change our alignment. This is just a little exercise so you can see the effects. So what I want you to do is have your posture, shoulders are in a line over your hips, expand the back, sink the chest, head up. But this time I want you to twist your shoulders slightly like this. So I want you to try it that way, and once you have twisted, take that big inhale. Now, you probably couldn't get it. I felt a lot of tension and tightness. When we get our alignment off, these muscles will contract, and then we can't get our breath deep. So now I want you to just kind of slump and try and take in that deep breath. It's just not going to be there. We need our alignment to be able to breathe deeply. And this is due to gravity. We are kind of immune to gravity for most people. Our brains kind of block it out so that we aren't even aware of it. But when I am leaning or my head is down, gravity is pushing against me. And it's pushing a little bit more towards taking me over. In order to keep us from falling over, our brain is going to automatically start contracting muscles. Initially, it'll be muscles that are deep. These are under the muscles you can control. Our brain cannot directly control our postural muscles, but it will cause constriction of our lungs because they are the closest to our organs, but it will make them tight. Even if you can't feel it, it's going to be there. Now, when you go too far, you're going to start contracting external muscles. Those you can feel and those you can control. So in alignment, that's why we use breath to determine whether those postural muscles are relaxed and sinking, keeping us on our route. So now I want you to try this one more time. Head up, shoulders down, everything in a line, taking a proper breath in good alignment. And exhale. Now, I want you to try putting your shoulders back. Go back a little bit and try to take that breath. And then come forward. So again, gravity is pushing against us, forcing that constriction, and we're not able to get that good breath. So now I want us to stand. And we're going to get our alignment from a standing position. So feet shoulder width apart. Feel the edges on the floor. Bend your knees slightly, keeping them in line with your toes. Relaxing, pushing that line between your hips under your shoulders, and extend the head up. And let's do the tree hugger. So here, when you have good alignment, I want you to take a deep breath. And exhale. Let's do it again, and let's be aware how big of a breath you can take. So inhale. Exhale. Now I want you to cock your hips a little bit. Put one out, just a little bit to the side. And try again to take that deep, comfortable breath. It's not going to work. You have to have those hips in a line under your shoulders, lined up to get that deep breath. Okay, so let's try that again. let's not bring our hips forward. Okay, so let's make sure everything else is in place, but our hips are still kind of back. They're not over our shoulders. And try and take that deep breath. Still not going to be able to do it. So if you bring your hips forward, head up, and exhale. So this is how we use our breath to determine whether our alignment is correct. And the practice normally is the Treehugger. What we want to try if we are doing forms is to use our breath to check our alignment at the end of a posture. Now we've seen a lot of videos, instructionals on how to do wave hands like clouds. Okay. When we do wave hands like clouds, our hips and shoulders are going to wind up in a line when we are turned to the corner. So as I bring the hand up, I'm going to turn. My shoulders and hips should be facing the same direction. At this point, you can test whether your alignment is correct by whether you can take a deep breath. So I want you to have that posture and inhale and exhale. So if you do that comfortably here, your hips and shoulders are in alignment. Now, other postures, they're not going to line up exactly the same. For example, if we do brush knee, our hips are going to be open to the corner and our shoulders are going to be square. So at this point, we have an alignment from the back of our heel straight up to the top of our head, and we have those hips slightly open to the corner. So when you have good alignment, you can take that deep, comfortable breath. And exhale. You can tell when your alignment is incorrect if I've done brush knee at the end, but I have my shoulders off. So if I'm aiming at an opponent's center, crossing my center line, like this, and then you try to take that deep breath, you're not going to be able to do it comfortably. So you come back, you feel where your shoulders are relative to your hips, and then inhale, and exhale. In certain postures, our bow stances, our hips are like this, and our shoulders are going to be not at a perfect cross, but there is a point where that alignment works and you can take in that deep breath. It's very hard to describe or give you the exact position, even looking at somebody, but certainly not through a camera. So what you want to do is practice and play with it. Change that shoulder orientation just slightly, or the hip orientation. Open it a little bit more or close it, so that then you can figure out where that alignment should be for that breath to be comfortable at the end of, say, brush knee. Okay? Now, let's work on our head alignment. So I want everybody to take a seat. Okay? We're going to demonstrate first how your alignment of your head is going to affect your breathing. So again, we want our shoulders lined up over our hips because we're seated. We want to expand the back and sink the chest and keep our shoulders down and extend the head up. Take that deep breath with awareness. Feel how comfortable it is and how deep you could get that breath. Now, I want you to take your head and I want you to just drop it forward and try to take that deep breath from here. It's probably too tight, not going to be able to do it. So I want you to drop the head again, but I want you to bring it up about halfway from where it lands naturally to if it was extended up. So drop forward, come up about halfway, and now try and take that deep breath. That should have been better than when it was fully down, but not quite as comfortable if your head is extended. So try it up here. So the degree that our head is off our center line affects our ability to breathe. We sometimes forget our head is very heavy. It's between 10 and 14 pounds on most people. And when we have it forward, like this, that gravity is pushing, again, pushing against us, constricting these muscles. Even when you are seated, it is enough, if your head is forward, to prevent you from being able to take that deep breath. Now, I have been reading, and it is something of concern that a lot of medical professionals are worried about, is the idea of a tech neck. So that because we spend so much time looking at our phones or looking at our computer screen, our heads are naturally coming forward a little bit. It would be more like this. And they are staying that way. Our muscle alignment and our spine are starting to rotate or roll forward a little bit and bring that head forward. This really impacts our ability to balance, and it also affects the shoulders and the neck. You're going to start to have a lot of tension there. So we need to be able to exercise our neck to keep it from going forward. So we want to do some exercises now to keep our head on center. And the first one is you're extending upward, and I want you to turn your head to the left and then to the right. But in Tai Chi, we want to do this differently from how our brain normally does it. So our brain would contract muscles on the left side and pull my head to the left. And then when I want to go right, it would just pull from the right side and pull me over. This contraction, or this pull, brings our head slightly off center. It will take our chin. We want our chin level, but if I pull, it's going to slightly go on a diagonal. Okay? In order to move according to Tai Chi principles, we want to use extension or a push. So if I'm going to take my head to look to the left corner, I'm going to push through the right side of my neck and push over there. And then I'm going to push through the left side of the neck, pushing forward to come forward, and continue that push to go to the right. And then push through the right to come to the left. This is mindfulness. You have to put your mind in your neck. You're not thinking of turning your head. If you think of turning your head, your brain is going to contract and pull your head. So we want to practice using these neck muscles and push. Push left through the right side, push through the left side forward, push through the left side to go right, and then push through the right side to come forward, and right side to go left and come to the front. Now this sometimes takes some practice, but once you reach a point where you're pushing instead of contracting and pulling your neck, you want to split this in two or do alternate points or pushing in alternate directions, a yin and a yang. So if I want to go left, my right side is going to push forward or in a circle, and my left side is going to push back at the same time. So if I'm forward, I'm going to push this way. And then I am going to reverse, pushing forward on the left, back on the right, continue forward on the left, back on the right, and reverse, pushing forward. So I'm using two pushes, complementary energies, to turn my head and keep it on my center line. So let's try that. It should keep your chin level, and it will prevent those postural muscles from contracting with enough practice. I do have an extra practice that I sometimes use in classes. You can put a small rubber duck on your head as you do this exercise. This will help you to feel if it shifts. That means you are coming a little bit off center, or you're using a little bit of contraction and not a full extension. So if you have a duck, or you can use a roll of masking tape. What you want is something that just has a little bit of weight to it so that you can feel it, and you want as large of a base of support as you can get without it being too tall. So it'll be easier to hold on your head. So you're going to extend up. This helps us to be aware and self-test ourselves when you don't have an instructor around who's watching. Now the next way that we want to move is our head forward and then level again. There are postures in the form where we're going to be looking down at an angle. Punch to knee is one of them, and also this will help to develop those muscles to keep us from getting that tech neck. So if you're seated and you have your alignment, to take my head forward, I'm going to extend up the back of the neck, and then to bring it up to level, I'm going to push through the front of the neck. So push up the back, push up the front. Okay, you can also do this with the two, a yin and a yang. So as I push up the back, at the same time, I'm going to push down on the front. And I'm going to push up on the front, same time as I push down on the back. At this point, we want to be able to move our head with the muscles in our neck, and you will start to develop a feel. You'll feel it in your chest and your upper back. Helps to connect the head to the body. Very helpful for people that have balance issues, especially certain types of balance issues. So now we're going to go back to that exercise where we brought our head forward and tried to take a deep breath. But I want you to sit up, have your alignment, and I want you to push from the back of the neck, push up and down on the front, and then take that deep breath. And then push from the front as you push down in the back. You should have been able there to take that deep breath in, because you have not pulled your head off of alignment as you tilted it. The next exercise, and some have already seen this, is where you keep your shoulders down, but you take your ear to your shoulder. Okay? Again, our brain likes to contract. Pull our head over like this, and that is going to affect those postural muscles. Can't take that deep breath. Instead, when I have my head aligned, I want to push down, and then I want to come up in a curve. Or on this side, curve it down, and then curve up. Then when you have gotten that idea of extending in one direction, you may add the other one. So as I extend down on one side, I will extend up on this side of the neck. This allows us to tilt our head and remain on the center. Distributes the mass of the head more equally than if it just falls. And that's going to constrict those muscles. I use this lecture for a lot of times people in offices. I will go in and talk about Tai Chi. Anytime you spend a lot of time on a keyboard, it's really important that you stop once in a while and you do these exercises so that you don't wind up with that tech neck, so that you can keep that neck extended and centered, front to back. Remember, we don't want our head dropping forward because that's going to pull against our alignment. We want it to be centered from the front of our body to the back of our body. And these exercises with the neck are a good way to accomplish that. Deep abdominal breathing has great health benefits. There have been a lot of studies on this. It's going to help reduce stress, and it increases everyone's sense of well-being. It improves the quality of sleep. It can slow the heart rate, stabilize blood pressure. Then there's many more benefits you can find online if you just look up deep abdominal breathing and its health benefits and research on it. And when we mindfully control our alignment in Tai Chi, which we practice all the way through every form, and we move using Tai Chi concepts and principles, we can continually get that deep breath in and extend it out, and developing the muscles that drive our breathing. You don't really have to practice a Tai Chi sequence or a form to benefit from some of the wisdom of Tai Chi. Thank you so much.